job. There's a guy doing the job.
Wonder if you could comment on that.
Okay, here's what it says. I am writing you this letter to let you know just how poor niggers are being treated here at Millville Jackson Company, Loy Mill. They are some work 8 hours, some 12 a day, and all from 8 to 12 hours make only 20 cents per hour. And our boss, Mr. T.A. Garshman, tell us you mill code laws doesn't cover us. Boss man, niggers from $12 a week. It is just for white people. You will, please, sir, look after this and do something for us, poor niggers. A white man told me to write you about it. He is a man working in the timekeeping office and said we niggers were all related in this man's office at 8 a day and 30 per hour and $12 a week. And when a NRA inspector comes, they just show him a few time sheets and go on, and he said the way you catch them, you send a man here on Friday. That is, see, I can't see so good. This way you, see, I can read it. It runs together on me per day. Let him go with the pay man and see every nigga paycheck. Please, sir, Mr. Johnson, do something for me. I work 8 hours, only make $8 a week. I have 5 in the family, and I can't buy food enough to let me find from one payday to another. A 10 price of food, I can't have dry bread. Please do something for us, or we will starve. Please, sir, come to our aid, for we poor niggers can't help ourselves. Please put this letter in the newspaper, and a Negro who work at Millville Jack's Company, Lowell Mills. Laurie. Okay.
Well, we were just having a discussion about this. Maybe you could just give a little context to that letter.
Well, this letter was written because the NRA code had just come in, which says that the people should be limited to 40 hours a week instead of 60 hours a week, they should get a minimum of $11 a week pay, and they had a right to join a union. And he's writing saying, where are we?
Right.
Because we are not getting paid
Right.
the way we're supposed to.
That's right. Right. Yeah, as we were saying, that was the same thing that was happening to us back in the 60s when we first went in the mill. This man would make 30 cents more on the hour than what we were making. We were doing the same job. But it wasn't a thing you could do about it. You had to have a job, so you just had to hang in there and do what you could, you know. But although we knew it wasn't right, what the government should do, they should be backtracked and make them pay us for every day that we wasn't paid for. They should.
That's what this man in the letter was trying to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, you said you found some folks who'd work at the Lorraine at the same plant.
This is at the Firestone Industrials that I was talking to this man that said that he'd be willing to speak with you. I give you his phone number, address, and he would tell you how things were back in the 1930s. Because this is where you're dating back from and coming up until now. And his name is Mr. William G. Floyd. And he got some very interesting stuff to tell you that happened to people back then, you know.
Well, he worked at the mill where those black workers wrote this letter.
Right. Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's
okay,
the
yeah.
connection.
Oh,
That's the
okay,
connection.
right. Well, you on the right track to find him then. Right, that's good.
We'll find out.
All right, right.
As I say, we had Bruce Graham,
Right,
who wrote that letter from the Eagle.
that's right.
And now here we hope to find somebody who is connected with this.
Yeah, that's going back all those years.
Lorraine,
Now, that's
right,
wonderful.
yeah.
How clear it is, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
You know, this was a long time before Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. We're trying to say it didn't just start then. The people back before then.
Let's get on the bus.
We feel that's important.
Before we went in there. Before, when I was about 14 or 15, we had to walk from over here to Facilla Mill over there to catch the bus. And at that time, you couldn't even get on the bus before the white people get on. The bus would come by and pick up, and you had to stand back and let the white people on. And if there were more white people to take up their portion, if they wanted to take ours, we still had to stand. So this particular day, I had walked over to Facilla Mill and was waiting on the bus, and the bus pulled in at Facilla Mill, and the door stopped in front of me, and it opened. And I just stepped on the bus. And this white woman behind me, she spoke up and said to me, "I wish I had a pen." And I turned around and I looked at her and I said, with a word, "Damn you, I'll give you a pen." Now I want you to use it. At about 15 years old, I said that to this woman, but nothing was done. I went on the bus, you know, but I did do that.
Were
And
you paying the same price for
yes.
the ticket?
Oh, yes.
I was locked up one time. I sat in the front seat of the bus and gas.
I was put off of the bus because I sit behind the driver. He looked back, he said, "I don't want to sit that close to you." I said, "Well, you're not a thing."
They locked the bunch of us up in that one time, sitting in the front seat. Yeah.
When
I
was
mean,
that?
there's lots of experiences that, I mean, I just can't understand. And being a Catholic at that, you know, I just wonder, where is our God, you know? But we have to be patient. That's the only reason that I didn't sue Burleson, because I was taught as a Catholic, you know, you don't do evil for evil. I just only wanted justice. I know that I am a human being. And so I just wanted equal rights.
But so Pope John said that standing up for your rights is not evil.
No, it isn't. It's not evil. And I mean, I guess, you see, my father was a Baptist deacon at Springfield Baptist Church, and my mother, and he attended there. And after they were converted to be Catholic, you see, my father being a deacon, knew a lot about, religious beliefs, right? And so it was always instilled to us to be kind to one another, to treat people equally, to this and that. And it just come up in me as a child. Why this? And it was just in me to always speak out. And I still do speak out for justice. Because no one is any better in God's sight than other. And it says that he doesn't see color. And we all, he died for me just as well as he did for you. So that's just the way I feel. I've always felt that way.
Leon, you were saying, you went over to the barber shop to look for
Oh yes, I went to get my beard trimmed up. And I was telling the fellows about that you had been here to the church and what you was about. And I was asking some of the fellows around there would they be willing to speak with you. Some of them said, no, we don't want to do that. And this one guy says, I know a man that worked at Firestone back in the 1930s that did the trimming on my beard. And he said, give me a chance to speak with him and see if he'll meet you here tomorrow. I said, I get his phone number, address, and all this stuff. And said, he'll talk with you. I know he's not scared. So the next day I went back. Sure enough, he was there. He gave me his phone number, address, and we got to discussing how things went on back in the 1930s there. And he goes on to say that I'm retired now, I'm not scared, I don't have nothing to lose, I'll be willing to talk with you. And he's willing to speak with you. So if you don't know how to get to his house, I'll show you how to get there.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing, you were saying that you sang in the house.
Out in the yard, well, we sang in the house in the summertime. As we worked in the fields, the Gardin people are very, very talented people. And my father always said that all the education they received was from the blue-black speller. And blue-black speller. And, but most all of them, they knew carpenter without going to school, am I right? They knew all of this. My father never took music, and he would teach us music. After we'd get out of the fields in the afternoon, my mother had made sweet bread, she called it, cookies, and maybe baked potatoes, parched peanuts, and we would sit around outside and we would eat that and we would sing. And he taught us, you may notice, she sings high soprano. I sing alto. What do you sing?
Anything that's good. Whatever comes out.
We all had a way of singing. And when we would hit a wrong note, my father would stop us and show us how to hit this note, right? And so all of us became very good singers, and not any two, singing exactly the same tune.
What kind of thing did you sing?
We sang all the Negro spirituals and
Climbing Jacob's ladder.
We are climbing Jacob's ladder, and a lot of them are in the hymn books today that we sing. Most of the people here are surprised that we know so many songs that we do.
Good.
Now the Cindy and those will pick a song and come in. We know it, and sometimes they will ask us, "Do you know this?" And they want to know how we knew these. Our mother and our father sat in the yards with us at night, and we sang these songs.
Sing something.
Do you dare sing one now?
Grace all in time.
Oh, we don't want it. She's thinking of McDonald. Huh?
Jacob's ladder.
We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. Soldiers of the cross.
It is time that we got to the top of this
Sing
cross.
something else. I mean, that we all
time
can
is
get.
now.
We wasn't in.
We are gathered
We
here
wasn't
this
in.
morning to praise God first. We are here to traumatized and appalling condition. a condition that has come back marked insufficient funds. But I refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. So we are dramatizing this condition here today, the update from the 1930s up until now. And we hope and pray that something will come of this. So black, and not only blacks, but whites also will be treated fairly in the textile imagery. Thank you.
Which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We are slain soldiers of the cross. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher, higher. Soldiers of the cross. Do you think I'll make us soldier? Do you think I'll make us soldier? Do you think I'll make us soldier? Soldiers of the cross. If you
This was great.
So our father taught us. That's the reason we all have. That's the reason we all have different. You know, not all singing in one tune. My father taught us, and if we hit a wrong note, he would stop us and say, "Oh, oh," whatever it needed. He did that to us.
and his brother Robert taught music in the home. No music.
Now what, now, how many, there's a lot of children in each home. You told, that how many people were in this family?
My father was the father, out of two marriages, the father of 24 children. And I'm number 20.
Now I'm number 23.
You're 19.
Not 19.
Yeah, because you are next to me.
I have one other question. A lot of the places where we've been going to, when people talk about the Mill Village, they often say that the people that lived in Mill Village were lin heads.
What's that?
That's
That
because
linen head.
the lint,
Lint was in their
head.
head.
It's all in your hair.
That's what.
That's the reason they prepare it to them as lint
Yeah,
head.
some people say that's an insult, and some people say that's a name of pride.
Yeah.
Because you work.
Yeah, some people use it as an insult.
Well, I would think they would call us lint head because they didn't think we had any brain.
No hair, but.
Would you say, did everything around here revolve around Spencer Mill in one way or another?
Us, it would, but I don't think everybody up and down this road was involved in Spencer Mountain.
Could you just tell me that in one statement to wrap this all up about how your family worked with, how Spencer Mill was so involved with your family?
Well, but my father working for Sam Love, the owner of Spencer Mountain Mill, he farmed on his farm through the summer. And in the wintertime, he would get a job in the mill, and his sons and people, of his relatives would, be hard down there if they had something for him to do. So that was how we came about being involved in Spencer Mountain Mill.
Can I say
Your
this?
older brothers.
And my older brother.
Older brothers.
Can I say this? We had a wonderful and beautiful mother and father. We always had plenty to eat, and you hear some of these letters talking about they couldn't make it. And people would think a man with as many children as my father had, that we went hungry. Never. Never. We didn't have always the clothes that the proper clothes, because the white woman on the mill hill would give us hand-me-down clothes, that they didn't need. But as far as being hungry, I don't ever know of being hungry, because just like I said, after we had eaten dinner at night, we had baked potatoes, sweet cookies my mother had made, and peanuts to sit around and eat
Always
around
had
the
a
fire.
cow.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
But I hope this has been beneficial for you all's time and
Yes,
everything.
sir. Yes, sir.
We need, by the way, we need to get your names and addresses on a the bricks and what your grandfather did when I attach you. Okay? Roll.
The green part right here is part of the old store. This was the driveway that trucks and everything had to come in and go around this way and unload, and you know, the stuff that was brought to the store. And the front was around on the other side. And that's, you can tell by the old brick that those bricks are very old, because they're not uniform, they're not smooth, they're just almost crude cuts, you know. And I think my father might have helped make those bricks.
Your father then worked in this mill?
Well, he did. After I was a little boy, when I was a little boy, I remember him working here.
What did he do?
He worked in the opening room. He opened the cotton and put it through some suction thing that sucked it into the card room or wherever they processed it in after he handled it.
Did he expect you to work in the mill?
Well, I would suppose he did, because he didn't think we didn't have any other way of, you know, no occupational job of our own. So he figured maybe we would be in a mill or something.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe not this one, but some other, because this is a textile industry place, you know.
You said you had uncles that worked for the mill too, but your dad was the only one who worked inside?
Well, that was not considered an inside job opening, you know, that was in something like the warehouse and all. And we just passed where the train would bring the cotton and the coal and stuff, and they would have to get the truck from here and go up there and unload it from the trains and then bring it back here to store it. I meant to stop up there and show you all that place before we came down.
And how did you find out about all this?
Well, I was a boy at the time that my father was working here, and so we had to walk from our house down here to bring him lunch sometimes, you know, if he didn't bring it. And some of my brothers, they worked here too, you know, even after my father didn't work here.
How did they get to work here? Because it was rare for blacks to work.
They walked. They had no transportation, you know, they had to walk or either ride buggy and wagon or things like that.
But we know that few black people got to work in the mills to wait in these cars. Did he get to work here?
Well, he was truck farming for Sam Love, the owner of the mill. And he lived in one of their houses up about a mile from here. And in the summertime he would farm, and then in the wintertime he would work inside the mill down here, opening cotton and stuff.
Good. Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
could you just tell me about the ununiform brick again at the beginning?
Oh, those old brick there?
Yeah.
I don't know how they were made or shaped, but you can tell by the way they are made that they weren't made by machine or nothing like that. You know, they're not modern brick. They're old brick that odd shaped and ununiform. Did you get a close up of them? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Bring back memory. It does.
Okay,
I remember
Jamie.
walking in
Let's.
that store there,
Wait,
and
can you start that again? You said
I remember walking in this store with maybe 3 eggs and trade them in for sugar or coffee or something like that. Maybe we could find some pop bottles, you know, and trade them in for money to get us some candy or something like that.
you mean at that general store?
At this
the
store right here, yes.
Was this the company store?
That was the company store. That's where all things that was bought here was from the store there. I mean, they didn't have dry goods like clothing or like that. It was only a grocery store.
Maybe we could walk down to the company
No,
store.
no, we don't need to. We're seeing it quite enough here, and he doesn't. We don't want to cause trouble over there.
Over the hill, all back in there, back in there. We worked, babysat, and we cleaned house. Just, especially after we went to high school, and we needed money for clothes. Then we would work in the summertime and take our little $5 and something and spend it on our clothes. But before we were old enough to do this, my brothers would have to come to Spencer Mountain and pick up the white woman's laundry and carry it all the way back up the road. My mother and my older sisters would wash it, iron it, and bring it back for maybe $1.25 or whatever. That's just the way That's the way it was. That was all for us to do as far as making any kind of money.
You know, look, can we walk a little bit, and then as we're walking, you tell us about this house? 1 second, let me get Jamie. Was your brother with you when this was happening?
Oh, yeah.
Can you
Room
hear
is
us?
fine. You got a little bit of headroom.
Like here?
That's fine.
Okay.
Folks are ready.
This house here, the Bumgarners used to live there. I've went in there many a day to get their clothes and brought them back, you know, and after my mom and sisters had washed and ironed for them. Many a time. I
The
could
Wells
still-
lived on the corner there.
The
where
Wells
house
lived on the corner of their house. It burned
burned
down,
down just
few
about
weeks-
a year ago.
You were telling us about this house.
This one? This one is for where the Bumgarners live. And I've been in there many a day to clean, you know, not to clean, but to get their clothes. It was all back all around over the hill at different places that we worked. Different places all over the hill. Up that way and across over there, all back around in there. We worked as babysitters and cooks and all of that kind of thing, you know, for very little of nothing. Right.
And it was mostly that the most well-to-do were the ones that was able to hire somebody to wash for them, you know. Most of the other ones that just regular workers weren't well off enough to hire anybody. They had to do their own washing and all.
What about the big house down there?
That's where the superintendent lived.
We
I
didn't do much there. I didn't. Not there. It was just laborers in the mill that we worked at.
So you used to pick up the clothes?
Yes, I'd walk, pick them up.
Why don't we walk and you tell us about how many a day you pick those clothes up?
Well, sometime it would be from 2 or 3 different families each. Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday. There were certain days that we washed for each, for that
Another
family.
wash.
And we'd come down that morning and get them, and probably the next day when they were finished, we'd bring them back
A lot
and
of
deliver
times
them.
it would be a Friday when we would always,
Bring them back on
on
Friday
the weekend.
after paydays, so they would have money to pay us.
What's amazing is that those mill workers weren't making much money themselves.
We
Not
wasn't
much,
making nothing. That's the reason
but-
we wasn't getting nothing.
But we get 45, maybe 50, 75 cents for a bundle of clothes. Now that was pretty good. And I remember walking one time all the way to Stanley trying to collect from someone that didn't pay us. You remember that? We had to got up in the morning early. Joe Robert and Charles and myself had to walk to Stanley to try to collect. I
They
think it
would
was.
carry the clothes and we would wash them and iron them.
Say that again?
My brother and Charles, our baby brother, would carry the clothes and we would wash them and iron them, you know, get them ready. We'd tie them up in a sheet and bring them back.
Now, can you describe from here, you know, in relationship to the mill village, where you lived and how far it was?
It's almost exactly 1 mile from here to where we live.
Oh, but that isn't it?
No, it's a mile.
Is it? Here back up to the church. That's around in there where we stay.
Oh, man, something like that.
We do that. Even if my mother needed a box of snuff, she dipped snuff at that time. We'd have to walk all the way down here and get it for her and then walk back. And most of the times, a lot of times when we would do that, we were harassed by the white boys, niggers and everything, and just all, anything. Dogs get after us.
I delivered the clothes and then had to run home because they'd run us back home. We done delivered the clothes.
You were carrying in their dirty laundry.
Their dirty laundry and bring it back clean, then we'd have to run home. They'd run us home. That's right.
Now you told me somewhere is Spencer Love's house, right? You told me that
WT,
he had a
Sam
home-
Love's.
Sam
up on-
Love.
Right up, that's up the road here, where Laurel Hill Nursery is. That's where his house up on the hill there. He was
I
the
worked
owner.
for him.
She worked in the house.
I
for
worked
him.
in the house for him.
You'd stay that week at the time, wouldn't you?
I'd
Sometimes
stay there all week.
you come home on the weekends.
What'd you do for him?
Cleaned and babysat, you know.
Cook, clean.
Cook and all. But I was the type of a person that she knew from working here for these people. Now, she was a rich lady. Show you how I've been all my life. If I come in on Monday morning down here to work, I would tell him I don't wash leftover dishes, and I wouldn't. So I went and worked for the white lady, the rich lady up on the hill up there. I told her the same thing. I'm not getting paid for washing yesterday's dishes. And so she would always have the kitchen clean. God is my witness. That's the way I always have been. I'm not getting paid. I expect your kitchen to be clean. When I leave it clean, I expect it to be clean when I come back. And I did that. And she respected me for that. The big house for
No. This is the house.
Tell me
Yeah.
what you want to do.
Just want to get a shot of this.
Sold it out to these people. I don't know who owns it now. What's the name of them? I don't know their names.
But the Loves used to own all of this.
Yes.
Huh?
Even had his little own airplane. The airport was
Okay,
right in
yeah.
here somewhere along where we are here.
Can't see it from here.
He's a little, like, his airstrip rather,
Now, so when your daddy worked sharecrop for him, was the farm around here?
Well, it was up there right below, right there behind the church where we were going to. That's where the farm was. So it was just right across, you could see it from here before it grew up like this. You could see from that house over here on this hill.
Give me a little background though in terms of like Spencer Mountain and how, how he owned, Mr. Love and how he owned it and how the economy was based on him.
Well, W.T. Love, I don't know what that W.T. stands for. I think one of them was Thomas and Sam. They were brothers. So they just owned the mill. That's all we knew. And they owned the property, and we just took it from there. We didn't have any other ways of knowing anything else but that, So and my father was working for him, and just surviving is all we knew. I mean, that's all we knew at that time. There wasn't anything told to us. It was just what we grew up knowing.
You had told me about Gaston County. You said it was Spindle City.
Yeah, it's a spindle city. Because there were so many spindles, textile spindles. Well, we have a radio station here, WLTC. That stands for World's Largest Textile Center. That's what the call letters stand for. And, so this was Textile Center of the world.
And Spencer Mountain tell me a little bit in terms of textiles about Spencer Mountain.
Well, it was the only mill. That was all it was at Spencer Mountain. The mill and its village. That's all it was at Spencer Mountain, and the mountain itself, That's all we know about it.
Now, was it named for the Loves? Or was it named
No. I guess it must have been the mountain itself was named from Spencer's, I guess, But the Loves only just had the mill here. So I would presume that it was Spencer. The mountain was named after the Spencers. I don't know.
I think they're calling us. Why don't we walk a little? You take
Okay.
us.
I remember when I was up here working for them, they had a maid. I forget her name, but they had a little house. I'll show you her house where she was. Her living quarters was above the garage. So I'll show you that just in a few minutes. His landing strip was right along up there where those flowers are. It was. And he had a crash landing one time, so we got rid of his plane. He survived. All of this wasn't here. This was nothing but woods during the time that I'm speaking of. through there. And that was a shortcut to get to Ranelagh. We cut through their property to get to Ranelagh.
My first time being back here, and I was a kid. Yes, my first time being back over on this side, you know, up in here.
Since when?
Since I was a child. And I'm 67 years old now. No, I guess that's been about 40 or 50 years.
And why would you come up to the house?
Huh?
Don't run. It's the wrong thing to do. You run, he'll look at you like prey.
All right, everybody, chill.
Go back there. It'll be the next one.
I'm scared out.
Well,
And why'd you come up here as a child?
Well, my sister worked here. She was working here, and we would be rambling and
Just playing in the woods.
yeah, going to catch the bus up at Priscilla Mill. That's what we call it, and stuff like that. Get.
Contact.
Here you come.
Let's ignore the dog.
He ain't growling at your rear end.
Oh, that big old dog. I ain't never seen no big dog that big in my life.
We're going to be shooting down here.
But you said
You
that.
sure?
Children should go back to the car.
Go back to the car, children. Brian.
Slowly.
Go on.
Y'all go back to the car.
Okay, let's go. Yeah.
This is an old dog.
Right, and one went down, that was it, whoever was playing with me. But,
Did you bring your own children over here?
oh no, I was just a teenager at that time when I worked for them. Still in school,
I see.
right.
So could you just point out the parts of the house to me again that you were working in?
I went into the kitchen there, and then washed dishes right here. Then from the kitchen, there's little elevation steps, which was the dining room, right in here. And then from the dining room on there, there was more or less a little living quarters. As far as I can remember, I don't really even remember this. That other brick part might have been there, but I don't remember going from one part of the building to the other. I stayed in the same building they stayed in a little room right back in there, like that's where I slept.
Thomas, you told us that from up here he could see all of his mill and all the village.
No.
Wrong house?
No. I don't think I mentioned that. Down at the superintendent's house, he could see the village, you know. But now this was his secluded house back here up in by itself, over here.
That's the difference between the owner and the superintendent.
See, he was the owner. He owned, you know, part of the mill. And the superintendent had run the mill for him, you know.
And I think I was their first maid, as they call them.
No, what was her name? She lived here until she died.
Who's that?
The latest, I forget her name. She lived here. She was with them from the time before they even built this house. And then after she died, then she started hiring, you know, my sisters, Grace and anybody else? You know, Annabelle? Yeah, okay.
I worked for the Fraley's. The Fraley's moved in after the Loves moved out. Here? Yeah. Fraley's. And I worked for Fraley's because I know some of the children. And they would crochet and make stuff, and that's how I learned to crochet. She would learn me, you know, show me how. But the Fraley's moved in, some of the sons moved in.
So
Betty had two. Her name was Betty. Betty had two children. Louise and what was the other name? One of them was Louise and I forgot the other one's name. But
Did you take care of the Love children too?
I didn't sleep with them, but I babysat, you know, and tended to them when they went on out or wherever they would go. I babysat them.
When was the last time you were here?
Oh, I can't remember. I was a teenager and I'm almost 66 now. That's been a long time, right?
What memories do you get?
Um, they were nice, very nice people. They didn't expect, they didn't treat me, I would say, like I was black, or they just treated me as a member of the family. It's just like I said, when I come to her, I told her how I treated the other people that I had worked for on the mill hill, and I told her that. So she always had a clean kitchen for me when I come in, but she'd always tell anybody, Grace likes a clean kitchen.
Can you tell me the story of that whole clean kitchen story?
What,
The one you told us down by the mill.
well, I told the other people that I worked for, okay, they paid me to work from Monday morning to Friday when I got off. And I always left the house clean, right? The dishes washed and everything. And I go in one morning and you couldn't get in the kitchen. Every pot and everything was dirty. And I told them, listen, I don't wash dirty dishes, right? I leave your place clean and I expect it to be clean. So when I come here to work, I told Betty the same thing. I didn't wait until it happened. I told her I didn't wash a messed up kitchen, you know. I leave it clean. I expect it to be clean, and what I mess up and whatever, I clean up, right? I'm not getting any extra pay to wash up all these party dishes and everything that's just everywhere. And she didn't expect me to. She didn't expect me to. She took me as my word and was very, very good to me.
Did you tell the women that you were working for what you were gonna do or not do?
Well, no. I don't know. The few that I, lived with, we were just all like one, I would cook for 'em and we would sit at the table and eat. And I would sleep with the daughters, and so, they treated me real nice, and that's just the way it was. I didn't have no problem with them.
I've worked for quite a few, I would say rich white people. And I'd always go and tell them, I'm not getting down on my knees, scrubbing no floor. And I'm not getting out on a ladder, washing any windows. I told them at Jump Street where I was coming from, and they respected me for it. They never any hard feelings. I just told them what I wasn't going to do. You get me pail, I told them. The mop, I stand up mop. I'm not mopping on my knees. And I'm not hanging out a window, washing your windows. Now that's just the type of person I've been all my life. Sometimes I think maybe I'm a little bit too outspoken.
Could you say that again?
I said sometimes I think I'm a little too outspoken, but as I grew, I see you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else, right?
You know what I think?
What?
I think you're getting too old to apologize.
Well, I'm not apologizing, but at that time I was thinking that I was a little bit too outspoken. But as I grow, I see is it what you call wisdom? You have to have the wisdom and the knowledge to understand, to speak out. And Jesus spoke out, didn't he? He said what he expected. So it says that we are made in his image and likeness. So I always did speak out. And it was just like, to me then, I've never been what you say independent, but it's just like, I am somebody and you can take it and leave it. If you don't want me, then I won't be here. But I've never been fired, and I've always been loved and respected anywhere I have ever worked, even at Burleton.
Okay.
We'll walk back.
No, I want to get a long shot of this house with the
Right.
Exit outside,
Right.
down steps, and then
Right.
went to the little garage.
Yeah.
But this was the front then.
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
we're
what's
not sure which is the front. We call that the front.
Well, when I worked here,
Yeah, it had like 3 big boxwoods right there.
right, this
Huge,
was the front.
Yeah.
huge
They
thing.
only used the driveway to come up and around to here.
Mhm.
And then there was just like a big yard
Mhm.
downhill. They kept it clean, you know,
Mhm.
down the hill. And the fields back down there where the pond is and all that, my father farmed that.
Oh wow.
And the ballpark on across the road out there,
Uh-huh.
my father farmed that too.
Yeah. Now,
also.
when we moved over here, the ballpark was just like an overgrown area,
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
and they went and
They've just
went in-
built that there.
It was before the hurricane.
Yeah.
So.
Everything here seems to be timed from before the hurricane or
Uh-huh.
after the hurricane.
Yeah, it was a pretty monumental event. We lost many trees came
yeah,
down.
yeah.
Many trees. So yeah, everything's pretty
Okay.
much.
Will the dog let us go right
Sure,
through
sure. He's very old.
Now they warned us this is slippery here.
It's how quickly he moves.
Yeah, I know. He's no slouch.
We used to ride our bicycle down that steep thing. You can see it now.
It's
There's a wasp nest. See that wasp nest right there in
There's
that
a rock
pumpkin?
there. See that
Yeah,
pumpkin
now-
there?
That big
That's-
pumpkin right there.
let's see, where'd the driveway? She said it had been mossed over.
Oh, there it is over there. I see the concrete over there.
Yeah.
If we come up here and let's go around this way.
Okay.
See it down in there.
Uh-huh.
Watch the wasp nest. Oh yeah.
My toes is beginning to hurt.
Right there. That's the driveway there.
Mhm.
And you think we'd get on our bicycle, we'd be doing pretty much 90 miles an hour time we got to the bottom.
You know what I was thinking, Dad?
Yeah.
Why don't I just go through?
You gonna try to walk it down?
Yeah.
saying you
My
were
brother-in-law, yeah, I worked here around on the grounds for 10 cents an hour for the people. And one week I made $3. And I clutched that money until I got home. I was afraid I was going to lose it. Most money I'd had in my life. I was a little boy, you know.
How old were you back then?
Oh, I was 10 or 11 years old, something like that.
What were you saying about the Ford?
Ford. Oh, my brother-in-law he worked at the mill down there, so he had an old late model Ford. So it was too weak to pull this hill, come up here, and forward. So he had to back up. There was more power backwards, so he had to back up the hill and get up here. That's how steep it was. You can see how steep it was. You all walk down it.
What did he do for the mill?
Well, he was outside worker, just whatever they wanted him to do. Truck cotton, unload cotton, unload coal, haul coal.
So, would it be that if you worked outside as an outside man out there, you might be responsible to work for them too sometimes?
Sure, because he owned the mill. You had to do what if he asked you to come up to his house and clean out some shrubbery or do like that, yeah, you had to do it. That was part of your job. Just like I was telling you, I helped my cousin run the line up to this house, power line to this house, down that field down through there. We had to set the poles, you know, little Herman. And I learned how to climb poles with those gigs, run electricity up into this house. And when I was working here, this grass was sodded, you know, and you know, patches, you know, and it hadn't taken root good whenever but it never did look good while I was working here because it just hadn't had time to take root. And so many trees here, there was so much shade that grass wouldn't grow so good.
Yeah, all three of you were telling me about what Mr. Love owned. You had sort of explained the whole area to me.
Well, he owned the mill, the village, and the surrounding properties, you know.
Even what we lived on up there near the church.
What was that?
Even what we lived on up there near
farm.
the church. That's why he could build him a little party house back over in the woods from us. And my father was the caretaker of it, you see.
A party
never-
house.
Yeah,
for
we
his
never
friends.
we weren't never allowed to go in it. My father never would let us go in that place, but we could be around it because my father farmed all around that house. But
Didn't
it was all,
didn't your father make liquor for him?
Homebrew.
I don't remember anything about that. Now
Well, he
said
told us
that-
about the homebrew.
You're the one.
Yeah, he told us about the homebrew. Him
Was
and
this
Tom.
during Prohibition or not?
Well, oh yes, it must have been because Prohibition came in North Carolina before the First World War.
Well, it was after 49. I mean, well, that was doing in 1949. I remember when he bought a brand new 49 Buick. Mr. Love did. So from there on back down, 33. I was 16 at that time when he bought that Buick. But then I started driving a school bus. 16.
Shall we walk?
Oh, they built it up, didn't they?
This was almost flat from here up that way. It wasn't this much of a mile.
I don't like this.
You remember his airplane? Tom Love's airplane?
You had an airplane?
Yes, Love. Yeah. The landing strip was right up there. We'd be over at our house. We could see him taking off, you know, and landing.
That must have been one of the first ones around.
Well, we had an airport over here in Gastonia, but at that time we never did get any further than walking to the mill and back. We never did get to Gastonia, but once in a while. You know. It's quite a jump for us to get to go to Randlow.
Yeah.
Look, she took her shoes off.
That was the maid's house. Upstairs, her living quarters. The maid. I forget the maid's name, but I can see. I can still see her face now.
Oh, there is.
When I'd be working out
I
here,
know,
she'd
yes, sure. Yeah.
come to the door. You know, she'd ask us to come out, and we sit
Yes.
on the porch there and
Yes,
eat
she's
our
got
dinner. You know, if we were here during lunchtime. You know.
Oh dear.
You always got mud, dude?
I'm
Lot of
sorry.
memories coming back.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, yes.
Can we get a wide shot of that, Jamie?
aren't they?
He said they added on just right here.
Uh-huh. And all of that,
No, I
I
meant
think that
them.
they've done
I'm
a
sorry.
beautiful job here.
And
Yeah.
all the years,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
we didn't come out this one, so this was nothing but woods. This wasn't a road through here.
Mm-hmm.
The only
The only road was the driveway up. Uh-huh.
up, and then down into
Yeah.
there. And it looks like people live back up in there, don't you? Or is that the
No, that's the nursery.
I'm gonna look at this place here and see if it's what I think it is.
That's a barn. It's probably where they store their supplies. You know, they use a lot of.
That used to be something like I don't know what he used that for, but it was a dugout place there, and he had that concrete building around it. He made a run of homebrew one time and capped it in bottles, and he capped it too soon. And one night he was in bed and it started exploding. So the next morning when I came to work, he had me to take it out of his kitchen and bring it up here, sit it in that building, right, that little place right there. That's the truth. I wanted one of those bottles that exploded in my face while I was carrying that crate out. Right in there is why I said it. I walked in that end and walked down there and put it down there. Then after about 2 months, he gave them to me. I took them home and gave them to my brothers. What didn't explode.
Is that any good?
Yeah, it was good homebrew. That's what they said. Sure did. I just saw that form there and I wondered if that's what it was, and that's what it is. Yes, and that's the old pump house, the original pump house right there. Memories, memories, memories. And I'm almost 60 now, and I was a little child when this was happening. Big old tree, it was there. It's one of the original trees. And all of those larger ones, they were here. I think there was a few more around in here that probably blown down from Hugo. That barn wasn't there. None of that was there. There wasn't any more structures here, nothing but this building here and that pump house. We'd come over here and pick blackberries down on the creek. There was plenty of blackberries back in there, you know. We'd pick them some, you know, sell them to them.
You pick their blackberries and
Yeah,
sell them
that's
to
it.
them?
Yeah, well, off of their property, yeah.
Free enterprise.
Because, see, we farmed off of their land, you know. So, you know, anything that grew wild, it was part of ours. You know? And they would, for blackberries they would want, they'd buy maybe a couple of gallons, you know, 15 cents a gallon, you know.
So were you the only black family around here?
Yes, right on this side of, yeah, there's only one. The rest, any other black was either in Ranlow, Lowell, Dallas, or Stanley, you know. We were right here, this vicinity right by ourselves. Because of the Loves. He couldn't afford another family, you know, to do the farming, you know. One family was enough. So we the one did the farming. And how he got onto the Love, I don't know. I never did find out how he was.
How your daddy?
No, I don't know how. I'm just reminiscing.
Does someone have my camera?
I do.
Oh, good. I was wondering. So,
No, I'm just getting shots of your feet. So we followed my father's feet, doubling for your feet all the way up there. sidewalk up the drive. Get your heart out, Garrett Brown.
So how many years has your family been around here?
I don't know how many years because my father told me that he and his brothers walked and worked from Asheville to Stanley, you know, and that's where they settled in Stanley. And I don't know what year that was.
You don't know how they got to Asheville?
Well, I think that was, see, my father, he's part Indian, so he's originally from there. And how, see now, we were, I mean, I heard my grandmother talking, his mother talking about slavery days. You know, they were Barnetts before we became Gardins. We were Barnetts and were sold to the Gardins. That's how we got our Gardin name. We were Barnetts before we were Gardins.
So you were sold from the Burnett's to the Gardin?
To the Gardins.
You know, there were another possibility was that there were a lot of slaves that escaped and would hide out in the Smokies.
Well, that could have been one of the possibilities.
And, you know, get married to a Cherokee or
Yeah.
just take up living.
That's right, could have. Possible. Because my mother, my grandmother, she had Indian-like hair, you know.
Uh-huh.
So then how'd they get from Stanley to Spencer Mountain?
Well, that was just a short distance to walk, you know, if they had any kind of mules or things like that, you know, they would, I guess that's how he would get from Stanley to Spencer Mountain to work in the mill or something. Then he built his own house up there. He bought some land from my cousin, and then he built his own home.
Your father did?
Yes.
But the land belonged to?
No, the land he bought belonged to my cousin. See, I was telling you I had a cousin that had some land on the north part of the church property, and the Loves on the south side, and my aunt owned the eastern part of the property right there where the church lived. So when my father bought 2.5 acres from my cousin, he built his home on there. So that's where the social hall and those houses down there. That one house down below the social hall used to be mine, and I sold it to my sister.
Okay, I think we got it.
Okay.
Oh, look at them, they look so pretty.
No, I'm serious. We got deer sticks up north. I got a bus yet?
We got Rocky Mountain.
Somebody's
Well,
I've already got shot up for Rocky Mountain fever.
Is that recording?
No, we got Lyme disease.
It's not.
We got them here too.
What it is
It's not recording either.
Just a little bit. That's
gives you all
okay.
kinds of
It
aches
is?
and pains and
Yeah,
stuff.
just a little.
And there's no
Here, why don't you
cure.
get Mr. Stoner to say hello?
Okay.
so
Hello.
That keeps my back in one piece.
Hello.
how are you doing
No,
today?
this one's got a short piece.
Come on.
And
Okay, you want to interview me?
this one that
What's your name?
My name is George Stoney.
Mr. Stone.
Mr. Stone.
Yes.
Face the camera. This is
Mr.
Mr.
Stoney.
Mr. Stoney, and
He's a friend of mine.
my name is Tamisha, and
You are this rival to Barbara Walters. You'll be the next Barbara Walters, won't you?
yeah,
And you know the newscaster in Charlotte named Hunt. What's her first name?
Gant.
Gant.
Yeah.
Charlotte Gant, is it?
Sonya.
Sandra. Do you know Sandra Gant?
yeah.
Well, maybe you're going to replace her. You think
I
so?
like that.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Have
Thank
you
you.
ever been in a, ask Mr. Stoney if he ever worked in a cotton mill.
Have you ever worked in a cotton mill, Mr. Stone?
I have never worked in a cotton mill, and I think I'm lucky. Because all these people tell me how hard it is.
It is pretty hard.
Yes?
Even though I ain't worked.
It is recording. That little red light's on.
That's right.
That's right. So, I've never worked in a cotton mill. Have you worked in a cotton mill?
Oh, no.
We're both lucky then, right?
Yeah. My mother works at Freightliner in Mount Holly.
Freightliner. That's a good company, I gather.
Freightliner has a union in Mount Holly, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is your
Yeah.
mama a member?
No.
What is
All
she?
his son is. he
Okay,
was the- all
we
his
better go.
son was the
Okay.
Freightliner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now you press the button right here, and it's off. There you go.
And so my sister-in-law lives up there in that little trailer, and my niece lives out in the other trailer back. And I don't know, the other people here are renting.
Hmm.
They're renting.
And these trees here?
My father planted them. My father planted these pecan trees here. But they weren't bearing when he died. Hello. These are all my people. My niece lives there.
That used to be your house?
Catch it.
Now, my father's house was right in here, but it's been torn down now. Right in here. And then all his children, all this land here was his. He lotted it off for his children. Here. His was right here, and two sisters back there, brother there, a brother here. My house, he bought the land over in Smar and put me and my husband there. And my husband's mother sent us the down payment on our house. And I'm still there. That's been since '55. Dorica was born there.
And the church is just
Right there.
behind the trees.
Yeah. Move right out this way, you might can see.
So, is this where he farmed?
No. The farm was back here behind down there.
No, we wasn't living here. My father didn't even. He bought this land and built.
Cousin.
But during the time he was working for the Loves, we lived back behind that old building. See the corner of it from that
Yes,
gray house
uh-huh.
right there? It's right behind there where my father lived in the Loves' house. You know, it belonged to the Sam Love now. But this land wasn't Sam Love. Sam Love, the land was back in there and all way back behind the creek. You can't describe. You know, I mean, this is far. From back to where my uncle, my father's brother.
Who lives over here?
My sister-in-law, my brother's wife. He's been dead, what, about 2 years? My brother's been dead. And this was my sister Loretta's house right here. And my sister Corrine's house was right down there where the little car is sitting. And it burned down.
This is the house that the chapel used to be. The chapel that they, Corrine's old house.
Yeah, the old house right there. Now that's what the chapel was.
What chapel?
Where the black people went to church. We had the St. Helens was white, all white. And they built us a little chapel way back over on the Cross Creek and all way back up in there. But they were only few, just the gardens right in here, black, right? My father and Uncle Robert's. Uncle Robert became converted to Catholic. And my sister, Pauline, died at 11, was the indication of my father becoming Catholic. Because this was the only people that you could play with. Uncle Robert, two brothers' children, could shoot it back and forth. And by her going to the instructions that the Catholic Church was teaching my uncle, Pauline, her name was Pauline, Pauline brought literature back to my father in that old house down there. And he became converted to Catholic. He was a Protestant, a Baptist deacon at the church at Springfield in Stanley. And he became Catholic, and so then my Uncle Fred later and his family became Catholic, and that was all around in here. then Clara's sister, and you know, just all, and then all these children. That's how it spread. My father, the father of 24. Uncle Fred had 12, and he's got a son that's 12. I got a brother. You had 12, didn't you? 13. My sister Ollie had 12, and Louetta had how many? 11. And Corrine had 13. And
So you were responsible for the North Carolina baby boom.
my father was.
That makes a church, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so, and my mother was Froneberger. Uncle Fred's wife, my father's brother, was my mother's niece. She was Froneberger. And then Clara's sister, which was Froneberger, come into the church. And so we just family mixed, marrying and bringing another one in, they becoming Catholic, and then all, and it just made the whole, we all blood. We all, well, I'll put it this way, we are united biologically as one family, and we are united in God's family as one family. So that's the way I see it. We all family. You know?
It's going to be impossible to get down to the
Well, let's get as close as we can.
Where? I was saying this building here, right here, is when they integrated St. Helens up here. We were moved from way back over here. It's way back over there in the woods. That's where the blacks went. They didn't have enough priests or enough people to have 2 priests coming right here in the same. So they integrated, right? And they brought us from over here and put us with the white up there. And when they did that, the white left. That's how we get the church, right? That's how they left it and we stayed, right? And so this building here is the old chapel. It's the old chapel what we used to serve the Lord in. I don't remember serving in because it was done in 1926, the year I was born, right? But my father and the ones that had turned Catholic worshipped in the chapel that's made out of this wood. Built my sister a house out of the old chapel of wood.
Her husband was overseas.
He was overseas when that happened. And right down there in that clear space is where my father and I and Tom and all of us crew lived. I don't think there's a way you can get down there. It's so...
Got to cut away to the dogs.
Yeah, I'm just going to get a shot here.
What were you saying about the clearing?
That clear looking spot right down in there is where the house set that we was raised in and grew up in. Right down in there. The house has burned down. I mean, been torn down. You see any brick? You don't see no timber? Some of them have said the timber.
Used to speak then. I think it's gone now.
Right in there where that clear space is. And so my father let my oldest sister have this lot here to put her house. And
that clearing, that was the house.
the
That
Sam
house
Love. The Sam Love
Don't
house.
scream in the dogs. Speaking of
That's the house that Sam Love owned. Tom and Sam, they were 2 brothers. One was named Tom and Sam. They owned that house. And that's where we lived. My father farmed all that land, all the way back over across 2 creeks. And hills and hollows. And he farmed that down there where I showed you. Some back down in here, my father farmed that.
Where we just left from, just right at the bottom of that, where we left from, over to the nursery. The farmland went up to that property.
I told him that we farmed that out there where, when we were riding up, I told him, that we farmed that.
I'm talking about the bottom land over here, you know, went all the way up to the Love property, you know.
We'll get that story when we get away from here.
Put a trailer here. Put a trailer here. And that was Loretta's house, my sister Loretta's house. Somehow she got in trouble with the taxes and she lost it, right? And like I said, that one out there was Brother Tom's house. And Brother Ed's house was up here. So there wasn't any more room for all those children, right? So he bought me a lot. He was selling land in Smyre. And he put my lot over in Smyre. Right? Gave me a lot over there. And my husband's sister, mother, him being an only child, she sent us $500 to make the down payment on our house. And we paid for it with 7 children, $60 a month. Dorita was born. 1955, and that's how long I've been there in that house at Smyre. That was Ed's, my brother Ed's original little house they put there. But our house was sitting right below it.
So, as we're walking, could you just tell me how everybody was related to the mill in some way in terms of a job, whether it was for a family or working inside?
Well, I don't really know now. I don't know. I can't tell you anything about. I heard.
I just mean like your father or your mother.
My mother did not work in the mill. She did. She did washing and ironing. Right. My father worked in the mill, and his first job I think was like hauling the trash, because this used to be the dumpster right in here where they dumped it right at the house. This was the dump, you know. Where my father built, where my father built his house was over the trash pile that come from the mill, right? And I mean, it's just so much that you can think of, you know, that you could tell about it. But we have survived it all, and I think God has blessed me, because I'm not under a doctor's care. I need teeth. You may have noticed how I try to avoid that, but other than that, I don't even visit the doctor.
Look at all those kids.
Keep it there.
And that's just a few of my father's grandchildren, and great. That's just part of it. Yeah. As I can be, I give my father the credit for being what I am today. He was my first teacher. He talked to me all the time as a little girl. He used to tell me stories like this. He said, "Grace, never keep your hands closed like this to keep from giving out anything. When you do, you refuse and help to come into you," right? And he always told me to follow this first voice that you hear. If you stop to think and to do otherwise than what that voice says, you go wrong. Follow the first voice you hear within you, you'll always go right. And I've always practiced that. I've had lots of things that happened to me as a child through the voices speaking to me, right? Mm-hmm. But I give my father credit, and my mother. But my mother was kind of like Ollie. She's the spitting image of her. She was shy, you know, more or less just shy, but she fed us well. She cooked for us. She disciplined us sometimes with all the children. I remember I tell people stories about maybe I'd do something that I had no business. She'd say, "Go get me a hickory." Well, maybe she was making bread. I'd go up in the woods and I'd stay till she forgets it. I thought she would forget it. Maybe the next day I did something. Go and get me a hickory. And she was busy. I thought she'd forget me. I said, oh, well, that's all I got to do is just go up there and stay a while, right? But when she was free, you know, I owe you a whipping for sitting down, which. And you remember you thought I forgot the which. But she wasn't abusive, you know, she was just that. She didn't forget, although as a child I thought she was forgetting, right? They discipline us well, you know. Taught us to love people, to love our neighbors as ourselves, and all of that kind of stuff. So is that it?
Textile case. A.W. Henson, president of the local 2115 United Textile Workers of America, R.L. Reed, an active member of the union, and C.J. Haas, who was dropped from the company rolls sometime before the textile strike began on September the 4th. They came to me and charged discrimination. Since I was waiting here on an appointment with Mr. Roland Davis, an investigator for the National Textile Labor Relations Board, I looked into the case and found what appears to be discrimination on the part of the company's secretary and superintendent, Marshall Dilling.
What's the address we're looking for?
George, what's the address? It's on there.
It's, the address is 310 East Wilkins in Dallas.
So what my hunch is that this man's father was probably as active as Albert Hinson, and the guy is 75 years old, so his father, so he was no youngster at the time of the strike.
That's right. It's interesting that he tells about the background of Mr. Henson and Mr. Reed, but doesn't tell the background of Mr. Henson, Reed, and Haas. No, he doesn't give the background of Mr. Haas. He doesn't say how long he had been working in the mill before that. Mr. Henson had been here since in the mill since February 1926. Mr. Reed since March 1931.
I'm not sure, but I think this is 310. That's 308.
Okay, this is Wilkins?
Mm-hmm.
No, that was Wilkins we were on.
Oh.
Now here's East Wilkins Street. Is it East Wilkins Boulevard or East Wilkins Street? Here's the 300 block. We're in a mill village here.
Just said it's East Wilkins.
Right here.
Okay.
This is what? 30, where's the street? House number, there's no house numbers.
That's East Wilkins 400 block. There.
It's somewhere, I think it's back on that
Yeah,
short
it
block
looks
where
like
they
it
can
is
have
back
gas
there
stations,
then.
no
Yeah.
house numbers. 406.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely the mill village.
Yeah, this is the old mill village, all right.
I wonder which one. Well,
This is not Smyers, is it? No.
So George, my hunch is that possibly this man's family was evicted.
Mm-hmm.
I think this might be it right here. It's 201, 203, 204.
We're looking for 310?
Yeah, it's just there aren't too many house numbers here. House directly on my side. Going down a hill.
Mm.
So we hope he can tell us a little more about Albert Hinson.
Right. and his father. Okay. America, R.L. Reed, an active member of the Union, and C.J. Haas.
Wasn't no union down there at that time. No,
Uh-huh.
no, wasn't no union because I remember living in there. And there wasn't no union there at that time, huh?
Well, what he says,
Well, the only time there was any union at all was at the Firestone when they had that over there, and he was not in no union whatsoever. No union at Smire.
this was in 34, not, you see, you're not talking about 29 and all of that.
I ain't remembering all of that. I was born. That was named after Marshall Dillon. My name's Marshall Dillon, and he was still there at that time when you're talking then. Now, but we'd left and come back.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no union there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
No, my brother worked there.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't no union at Smire.
Hmm.
Well, it might be that they didn't get the union in, but the people were trying. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they didn't get recognized, but the people were trying to organize. Could that be?
No. No, Smire had a tight hand on everything there. I know when you were in union, I can remember this good as anything. Everything was checked out.
Mm-hmm.
And when you moved out, if anything was wrong, you didn't get your last check until they checked the house. And if there's anything wrong, they took it out of your last check. Now, it wasn't no union there.
That sounds
I can remember Smire.
He's explaining why there wasn't a union there.
I know all about Smire now. I grew up down there, and my daddy and my brother worked there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they worked there for years.
Yeah.
That's
the first job.
Here, didn't you?
Huh?
Didn't you move from Smire up here?
No. No, we moved from Clover up here.
How long did you live in Smires?
A good many years.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Carl lived in Clover, but I didn't know y'all lived in Clover.
Yeah, we lived in
I thought y'all moved from Ranlow to Smire.
No, we moved from Clover up here.
When did you move off the Mill Village in Smires?
I really don't know where.
You still in? You're just out of school?
No, you're still in school.
Were you just? You were still in school when you were?
Yeah. I was still in school. I walked from the Smire Mill Village to Lowell to go in school. Walked down the railroad track.
That was a long walk.
Yeah. No matter rain, snow, sleet, and everything. I walked right down that railroad going to Lowell school.
How many years did you go to school there?
3 years.
See, I believe you're 75 now?
No, I'll be 75 in February.
Oh, February, yeah.
You have 1 year on him. George
I'm
is
76.
I'll be 75 in February.
Well, then you started working the mill when you were how old?
Well, I went to work over here. I didn't. We were married now before I ever went to work. I worked with my daddy. My daddy, he was worked for a machinery company in Charlotte, Swartz. He all over North and South Carolina taking machinery out for him. Me and my two brothers worked with him then for several years doing that.
Then he quit Smires.
I guess we lived down there. I really don't know. We lived down there a good many years. I just don't remember exactly how many. But we lived in 2 different houses.
And had you finished school by the time you moved?
No. I stayed with my sister. Went on to school.
Mm-hmm.
Sister lived there. Her husband lived on down the street from where we lived. And I stayed and went on to school.
So your father and mother moved away from the village, but you stayed on with your sister.
Yeah. Yeah, then we moved up to East Gastonia. Over there, and the house at the mill village, the mill is shut down.
Did you know a fellow named Albert Henson?
I've heard of him, man. It's been so long ago.
Mm-hmm. We've got some pictures of him, and we're trying to trace people who might know him.
But I don't believe there's no such thing as a union down there. And
Mhm.
over to Firestone, Daddy took me over. I remember that.
Mhm.
And that's back in that time.
Mhm.
That was in 1929.
Yeah.
Your father took you
I
over
can
there?
remember that because I remember right over here. We come over here in Dallas. We lived down there and come over here. They had a meeting on down here at the railroad track on the box cars.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and I remember
That's
when
fascinating.
Satterholt got killed. Yeah, I remember that, and that woman got killed in the
Uh-huh.
Firestone. Yeah,
Yeah.
if it had been in Union, I could have remembered it because I.
'Cause, sure.
What
That,
kind of meeting did your daddy take you to? What kind of meeting did your daddy take you to?
It wasn't a meeting. They were just having a meeting where they were at.
Hmm.
And who was talking?
I really don't remember who it was. Some of them from the Union over at Firestone.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember another big time when you were about 18, I guess? No, you were about 16. In 34, there was another big attempt when the whole Gaston County was out for about 3 weeks, and the National Guard came in again.
The National Guard come in when that happened.
Yeah, but the National Guard also came in again at, let me show you some pictures. Do you mind if I show you some pictures? I got some pictures here. It may help you to remember.
Is that your daughter?
Yeah, let's see. Oh. Now, on September the 3rd of 34, there was a great big Labor Day parade in Gastonia. Did you ever go to any of those?
No,
Uh-huh.
No, I wouldn't. No union things. I never had anything to do with no unions. Nothing but this, that like that there come to
Mm-hmm.
down here.
And see, this is
We went up there after Idaho got killed. It
mm-hmm.
did such a.
See, that's the big rally that followed it.
And there's that picture with the Ranlow people on it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Here's the folks from Ranlow. So there's just lots of people out there.
Yeah. Well, that don't mean that it was the people from. I mean, it might have been people from Ranlow wrote that, but it don't mean that Ranlow had a union down there. That's the thing about it. There's where the union was, and everybody was going showing for it. Firestone.
Mm-hmm.
Now the only other union I've heard of around here is over at Freightliner. That's the only other place that I can tell anything about a union is Firestone and.
But you know, sometimes, maybe what you're thinking of is the union that the people voted in and that the company recognized.
Like I said, they might have people down there at Smart trying to get union, but they wasn't.
They didn't get it.
Nobody they wouldn't ever talk nowhere at all. 'Cause I was a young. Knew what everything it was actually about going on in it.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh,
That's not something that would have slipped his mind.
No, huh?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
'cause I was up there around close to the Neil. We lived a whole lot closer here after this road right out there. Comes the Neil. Yeah, we were the railroad and the Neil was on that side. We lived in that first house right there, right behind. But I was all around it and all anyhow, and then Daddy and my brother worked there. Daddy worked there a long time, and then brother went to work when he was old enough. I didn't want to go work.
Is your brother still living?
No, yeah.
Yeah? Where does he live?
And now he got too many problems to have anything to do with it. He got a son that been about 6 months ago, ain't he? They had really had to take care of him. He had a brain hemorrhage, wasn't he?
Oh.
His brain hemorrhage. They finally got him home at home, but now brother, his wife is in bad shape, so he just got more than he can do.
Sounds
and he
like
wouldn't.
it.
Sure, sound like it, yeah.
Yeah, he would. I doubt whether he could remember after being through what he has been through.
Mm-hmm.
So this Mr. Maybe you could show him a picture of Mr. Henson, George.
All right, I got a picture of Henson here. Here. Yeah, this is. He is at. He's making a speech at in front of the Parkdale Mill. Well, this man, you see, what he says is that talk about Mr. Henson, Reed, and Haas, charge of the company has used pressure on them to curb their union activities. The superintendent states.
Well, the superintendent was still Marshall Dillon.
Well,
He was not that kind of a man.
Well, here's what he says about Dilling. See if this matches what you remember. The superintendent states that he does not discriminate against union men, though he admits some opposition to unionism. He admits his.
I know Marshall Dillon. I'm named after him. I was named after him. I know him all along. He stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a nice guy?
Huh?
Is he a nice guy?
Yeah. He was strict. He wanted me to run. He was run right. He was run that way. As long as they had, as long as he lived, they had him.
You were a member of his church?
Huh?
Were you a member of his church?
He was no part. He was the superintendent of the mill.
Mm-hmm. But he was also superintendent of the Sunday school.
Well, he could have been. That would have been the. I didn't go to the church at that time.
Oh, you didn't go to his church. I see.
I didn't go to church at all at that time.
Yeah.
You didn't go to church till you made him go to church. Is that right?
Because other people have told us that he was superintendent of the Sunday school.
No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that.
And that's what this letter says.
I knew him as a man at the mill.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He never said one word to me out of the way whatsoever. I wasn't that old, but I was up there around the mill a lot and all.
Mm-hmm.
We interviewed two people that you might know. Rose Slayton. Did you know Rose Slayton? She lives on Smyers.
It's I can't remember names now back then. Well, I can't remember names now. It's hard to me now to remember things like that. I can remember back then, but now something I can think of that somebody tell me something bad, I might not remember it 2 hours from now. It's like my daughter-in-law out there, my granddaughter out there bought a dog, and I'll forget that dog's name and can't think of it, and then all at once it come to me. It's just that way in the last somewhere else since I had the balloon. I had a heart attack and had to put in just about a year ago.
Is that working?
Huh?
Is that working?
Well, I just really don't think it is. Because they didn't get it. 2 of them were stopped. Then they got one of them 90% and one 80%
Mm-hmm.
clear. That's all they could get them.
Why did your parents leave the Smyers Village?
Huh?
How come your parents left the Smyers Mill?
Well, he went in. I forget what he was doing, but we moved Up to this next mill, on the mill village, the mill had shut down. We moved on there, and I forget what he was doing, started doing, but he didn't go back in the mill at all.
Never did.
He never went back in. No, he. We lived there for a year or two, then moved way down on the other end of Clover.
Oh, then you moved to South Carolina.
And then we,
Then you moved to South Carolina.
yeah, they moved to South Carolina. Then we moved back up back over here again before we moved to Dallas.
Well, that's something that they named you after Marshall Dilling, I'll tell you that.
Huh?
I said that's really something that they named you after Marshall Dilling.
Well, I was the first boy that was born on them.
Oh, in the Smyers Village?
Yeah.
Oh.
First boy on the Smart Village. That's when it was just a village way down on the other end. It wasn't all these houses up on this end. It was just way down below the mill.
Wow.
It was just the one mill there, though. Just one mill.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't two mills, it was just one.
Because there was Smyers, and there was Rex, and there was Priscilla, and then there was Ranlow, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the plants in
Just
the
the
mill.
plants.
It was just one plant. There's just one up here now. It's one be up there, and then another be up there. It's actually three of them now. But it was just the one way back up here, and then see them's almost joined right there together. Have you been down there?
I have been.
Well, you seen where the reservoir is there. Well, this mill up here was the one that used to be there. And then the mill, the next, and then the one that built over on the other side of the road. Well, then they built them on that
Well, that bill was built, what, about 24 then? Or 28?
I don't know when it was built. No,
Yeah.
I was born in 1918.
And it was it
You're
built?
thinking of the Eagle.
I was-
I'm thinking of the Eagle. Yeah, that's Eagle was the 24. That's right. We've been talking to a lot of people over at the Eagle Mill. You see, that 24.
Well, I can't say anything about no union. I just don't, never heard of it. If it was, it's awful quiet. And then we knew just about everybody down there.
Let's see. The three people he mentions here are
C.J. Haas.
yes,
R.L. Reed.
Reed,
and
yeah.
A.W. Hinson.
So those are the three people. Who was Reed? Mr. Reed. Was he a neighbor of yours?
Who?
Mr. Reed, R.L. Reed.
I don't know any of them. I've heard that one,
Uh-huh.
the first one you said, but that's the only one that
I
I
see.
remember.
You heard of Albert?
Albert Henson, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard of Albert
He
Henson.
had 5 boys, I think. One of them was named Milford. Milford Hinson.
That's the only one I can remember his name. I
Mhm.
can remember his name.
Mm-hmm. Well, this meeting you went to, no, well, it wasn't a meeting, but this thing down at the Luray. They were up
Oh.
on the boxcars, huh?
We went over there.
No,
We
that
went
was
over there the
down
night
here.
that.
Dallas is talking about being up on the boxcars talking.
Yeah, this right down here. They
Used to
had
be a
they had
big
me-
place
me-
to sit
they
down
had
and
meetings around, but the mill didn't have. Maybe they had one down there, but it would have been.
I see.
we
That
would,
was it. It was at
if
Dallas
was,
too.
because we
Yeah.
didn't just come right over here. And this,
Yeah.
This right over here, cause this is where y'all come
Mhm.
off the railroad
Yeah.
track. Is this right there,
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that 1929 thing was only at Luray. Now, we were
Well,
talking.
It wasn't down there because we come up here to see it. It wasn't down there because we
Uh-huh.
come down up here and we went up there when the Adderhold was killed. Chief Adderhold was the guy
Yeah.
got killed.
Mhm.
I remember that. And then we went on over. A woman, I forget her name, on across the bridge over there. They killed her out there in the field.
Yeah,
I can
mhm.
remember. I can
Yeah.
remember that now.
Yeah.
How'd your father feel about those killings?
Well, We just come to see him here. It's just a big something that there had never been nothing like that around here nowhere. That union all over yonder and all, it was just something that everybody wanted to see. Well, you couldn't get nowhere near at that over there where Idaho got killed. It was just a big thing, and everybody was wanting to see what was going on.
Were you living around
But
there
it
then?
wasn't up at the mill. It was a mile and a half away from the mill. I know exactly where it happened. I can go show you right now where Idaho got killed. I know the street, but I don't know the name of it. I know where it's at. What street is it? Floorstone?
That's not guy.
No, I ain't talking about the one. I'm talking about the one that goes right up the side of it.
You're talking about the one that
Goes right up to the side of it and goes down. Not.
airline. It goes up.
The airline one goes that way, but I'm talking about the one that crosses it. That right down there's where Idaho got killed. That's where the Union Hall was. It's just an old wooden building. It's not about as big as this house, I reckon.
Do you remember when the two fellows got stabbed with bayonets over at Belmont? By the National Guardsmen. One of them was killed. That was in 34.
Do you remember that? So where were you living at this period of time?
I guess we was living over on College Street. That's where I was married.
Was that a mill village too?
Yeah, it's right over across the railroad. You go down to the right, where his dad and mother used to live.
Which mill was that? Also Smyers?
No, I said they used to live over here on North College Street.
But you grew up in a mill village also.
Oh yeah.
Which one?
Over on College Street. My dad worked over here in this red mill that don't run now.
What was it called back
They used
then?
to live right out there. It used to be the old Monarch.
Monarch.
Monarch,
Yes.
sure.
Because we've got some records of Monarch. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we've
Well,
been.
it's New South now. They really fixed it up.
Yeah.
It was falling all to pieces, and I don't know who did it. I figured it was.
He lived out there in that.
Think it was going to be abandoned, huh? You thought it was going to be abandoned.
Well, it had been abandoned for a long time, all but this one little place back there, some foreigners. Got a little place in the back side of it, and then the rest of it.
We built this one down here.
They're not doing anything in it. I kind of believe it belongs to Parkdale. Their trucks, when they were making the places for the trucks to back up to unload, they brought their trucks over and put them in Parkdale. And I don't know, but it's the thing. The name of it's New South.
Yeah. But Parkdale's buying up around a lot of this stuff now.
Yeah, they got lots of meals.
Yeah.
That's great.
We have another son that's right back here at the back office.
So you're surrounded by your family, aren't you?
One at the back office and one right there in that house. We got one over on Stone Highway and one over in Cedar Valley.
That's true. You're very lucky to have all your children so close to you, aren't you?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you're the first person that I think we've ever met, and we have met a lot of people who come from a lot of mill villages, but we've never met anybody who's named for the superintendent.
Yeah, that's Marshall Dillon. That's where I was born at.
Do you have a picture of yourselves with him?
No, they didn't. Back then, they didn't take pictures 75 years ago.
Yeah.
They didn't. But you don't have a picture of you and your dad?
You got a picture of your whole family. Where's it at?
I got. It's right over there. That's the whole generation. Is that in that drawer? That's the whole generation.
Oh boy. Oh, is that beautiful?
Let me see.
Where was this taken? Photo by Shelley of Gastonia.
Yeah, I'll show you my daddy. Not there, my daddy.
That's your dad. Are you in this picture?
Yeah, I'm not that. In my brother's legs, right there. No, right there. That's me right there. Right there, between the brother's legs.
This must have been taken
That's
about.
where is it?
Is that a beauty?
There's
Yeah.
my great grandpa and my grandmother.
Now, did all these people work in the mills around here?
Well, that was Tuckett Ranlow. We all lived near around Ranlow at that time. That's right beside my grandmother's house.
I've never seen one quite like that.
So this is so.
That's
Was
the
your
whole family. That's all of them. And I got one of all my
Wow.
daddy's family.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that an incredible picture?
Yeah.
That is an incredible photograph.
Yeah, that's my sister there. She's dead. That's one of my sisters. That's my mother.
Uh-huh.
That's my dad right there.
Uh-huh. And this is your grandfather.
Yeah,
Great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather, yeah.
He looks a bit like my father.
He didn't have but one eye, and I can remember my daddy, me and the brother, you see how big we were there. We get out and hunt the knee-high balls. They were big old knee-high balls. My daddy would make homebrew for him. They had a thing to stop it for him. Just make it for him, I know.
Knee-highs were big drinks. You remember?
Yeah, they were back then. They were big drinks.
Oh, orange
They ain't
knee-high.
nothing
Yeah,
else
that's
like that now.
yeah. But
He would put the brew in the closet in the house, and when he got ready, he would put it in bottles and had a thing to put the stoppers on there with, and he would give it to him.
He was the only one that got it, huh?
Yeah. It was. I guess it was between a quarter and a half mile to our house. He'd come down there. Yeah, that's the house at Ranlow. That's beside her house. Most of them dead on there now, though.
Yeah.
And they all mostly
some of
worked in the Ranlow Millville. They all mostly worked at Smyers, they lived in the Ranlow area?
They worked at Ranlow and Rex in the facility, not at the Smyers.
So they were all mill workers. Everybody worked in the cotton mill.
Yeah. Yep. All cotton mill people. Yep. One uncle lived in Belmont. They worked in the cotton mill down there.
Judy.
Yeah.
One of them was let me see if I don't believe his picture's on there.
The story of him and about Mr. Dillon.
No, his picture ain't on there. Hers is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's his picture. At the.
That could be George's son.
That's my son out there. Yeah.
They lived on a